There are people who are calling for World War III over Ukraine. I had just gone to a little rally here where I'm staying, and they were giving out flyers, and something interesting was on some of their signs, which said, "No fly zone over Ukraine," which is essentially calling for World War III to occur, no matter who it is. The only powers that would end up supporting Ukraine would be the United States or Germany or France to create this no-fly zone over Ukraine, which in doing so would just cause massive conflict, kind of like the Syria event where they said that they would wish that they could create a no-fly zone in a famous video about that. Now, that being stated, this is a terrible idea. It would cause World War III immediately, killing at least 1 billion people, according to some war games that were produced in 2019 against Russia in a scenario that was devised exactly the same way, which was Ukraine being the focal point. And because of this, I don't think that there's any way that you can support Ukraine militarily through direct physical action. I think the only way that you can support Ukraine is through monetary means, sending money, food, and supplies. But in any other way, you would be risking a nuclear war, possibly, with Russia, which may or may not do that anyway, which could be disastrous for the whole world. And with that being said, I think it's better to leave the sleeping dragon lie, to let Russia fight and choke on Ukraine and its resistance, while also supporting Ukraine, of course. Now, with that being said, whenever I see protests, I'm always a little bit nervous about them because of all the things that happened with the Black Lives Matter riots and how people were funding people to come in and protest. I think the Ukraine protest was much more organic, but it always makes me nervous because I'm thinking about who had made these signs. No fly zone over Ukraine, and no war, no Putin. And it seems to me very ironic because you can't have one without the other. You either stop Russia by creating World War III, or you let it continue. You let Ukraine suffer the consequences of having been attacked and invaded by Russia. Now, with the rest of my comments being said, I have some concerns over the Ukraine incident, which is that it seems like the elite of the world that seem to control everything, right? Talking about Biden, talking about I'm talking about Biden, I'm talking about all the Democratic leaders. They all seem to be very in favor and have been in favor of war with Russia for a very long time, such as Hillary Clinton and her whole Syrian crisis that happened back a few years ago. And it seems to me very strange, especially considering Biden and his son's connections with Ukraine and how that would help out his son. I think there's a lot of corruption happening in Ukraine, and I don't think it's going to get any better soon. I don't imagine that Russia will help it out anymore by its invasion and killing many of its citizens, but I don't think that if we were to get involved, we would have good reasons for it. I think that our leaders are only looking out for themselves and their own interests when it comes to Ukraine. I don't think that they're going to be honest with how that they approach the situation. I think there are ulterior motives, and I think that the innocents are caught in the crossfire. If I was to do anything or to influence anybody about this, it would just be for the innocents of Ukraine who are being hurt, and the innocents of the Russian troops coming in, being uninformed about the situation. I don't wish death for anybody, and I think that the political elites at the top are creating a game for themselves where they're only going to be the winners. And to that end, I hope that we can all take a long, hard look at Ukraine and Russia and what benefits we get out of this situation as well. It'll help us to figure out who's who and who needs to be taken out. We can't just continue to let the elites of this world take over while the innocent die. I would hope that I could influence somebody along the way. Well, thank you. Have a good day and stay vigilant. Subscribe and like. You don't have any idea how much that helps me. Thank you.